With the threat of losing federal funding, Southern public schools were forced to integrate in the fall of 1970. Although Fort Valley High School, where I attended, had a few black students before 1970, the white kids went to Fort Valley High School and the black kids went to Hunt High School on the other side of town. The newly named Peach County High School consisted of two cultures and strangers to each other coming together to begin a brand new, uncertain future. To say it was a tumultuous time for both black and white students would be an understatement. This all came to pass as I entered my junior year in high school. All the kids were somewhat nervous about the possibilities that were about to unfold, and I'm sure that included me. However, I was a basketball player, and I was excited to find out if I could compete with all the new athletes joining us in what would become a much larger school with much better competition. Looking back, those 2 years I spent during this historic transition were two of the most critical years of my life. I experienced things I would never have experienced and made friends I would never have met. As I saw in other schools going through these changes, sports brought us together. The Hunt Tigers and the Fort Valley Green Wave became the Peach County Trojans. Whether it was a Friday night football game or a Tuesday night basketball game, everyone put their differences aside and stood together to cheer for the Trojans. I've noticed the same is true today. In a world that seems divided in half, people with different views, if only for a few hours, put aside their differences and cheer together for their teams. And they high-five each other when celebrating great plays and victories and bemoan together the losses. Thank God for sports, the great unifier. But back to the fall of 1970. I remember our first home football game. New coaches were on the sidelines. New players were on the field, and great excitement was in the air. From the stands, we watched and anticipated which players would stand out. It seemed we had moved from the high school level to the college level. Players were stronger and faster than what we were used to seeing. But among all the athletes, one player stood out. Pete Johnson was a sophomore middle linebacker. He was a 16-year-old boy in a grown man's body. He was athletic, fast, and furious. He was a one-man wrecking crew, and he wreaked havoc on the football field. In many cases, the boys he hit who were trying to run or catch the football had to be carried off the field. If sports was the great unifier, Pete Johnson was the minister who married us. Fortunately, a few months later, Pete joined the basketball team. I played with him for 2 years before I graduated and left for college. I knew he had moved to New York for his senior season in high school. In New York, they learned that Pete could not only play defense at an elite level, but he could also run the ball at a higher than elite level. His skills also got even stronger on the basketball court. By the time he graduated from high school in New York, scholarship offers from both sports were pouring in from everywhere. I lost track of Pete when he moved and I graduated. That is until January the 1st, 1974. I was watching Ohio State and USC in the Rose Bowl. They kept talking about this freshman named Pete Johnson from New York who was having a huge day and finished with 3 touchdowns. I did not realize it was the Pete Johnson until they interviewed him after the game. I almost fell out of my chair. Well, a little over 50 years after that Rose Bowl, and over 54 years since I first saw him on the football field, Ohio State Hall of Famer All-Century team member, and former NFL Pro Bowler Pete Johnson is my guest today. Pete stood out in Fort Valley, Georgia, and later he stood out at one of the most prestigious football universities in the country. He also stood out in the National Football League. You're about to learn that Pete Johnson continues to stand out today.
The old straight tee. There goes Johnson. 3 touchdowns for a freshman. 3 touchdowns for an 18-year-old freshman, Pete Johnson.
And with 53 seconds to go here in the first half of a fast-moving ball game, number 1 ranked Ohio State leads number 4 ranked Michigan.
First down and goal to go. And Pete Johnson's over, the fullback, the freshman fullback. And coming through with the ball is that freshman fullback, Pete Johnson again. Pete Johnson broke that one at 21-14.
UCLA with a 6-man front. Giving the ball to Pete Johnson. Johnson goes for the first down, and he's going to be very close to it. I think he's got it. Second down. Goal to go. Touchdown! Pete Johnson. He took it in behind Chris Ward and Jimmy Moore. So Johnson now has scored 60 points on the season.
Already chanting Pete, Pete, and he gets it, and he has a touchdown. Second turnover, so it's 2-0. Bengals leading in that department. Cross buck to Johnson, and the big fullback is out to the 13-yard line. Has taken over 2nd and 15 at his 45, and he gives to Pete Johnson, who cracks his way for 8 yards. Johnson on 3rd down and 7, and it's Johnson, a great catch and a first down to the 31-yard line.
Viewing life from a hearse, it could be worse. Laugh, think, and cry with the country undertaker.
This is Bruce Goddard, and you're listening to the View from a Hearse podcast. I have a superstar, in my eyes, on the phone with me today. His name is Pete Johnson. He's an Ohio State Hall of Famer, all-century team player, played for the Cincinnati Bengals in the NFL. And the crazy thing is, I played high school basketball with him a long time ago in Fort Valley, Georgia. Pete, thank you so much for joining me today on this podcast.
Hey, I'm gonna be mad at you. You didn't say we were teammates now.
That's the truth. You know,
Number 34. I was 25. Yeah,
you were 25.
Hey, I got one question before we get started.
All right.
Is Coach Phibby still alive?
He is.
Y'all like to talk to him.
Yeah, I'll make sure he sees this.
Yeah, you get his number and stuff. Yeah.
I don't have it here, but I bet I can get it. That's for sure. I used to tell people when you started becoming famous that you could have played college basketball. I can promise you. I mean, you were a man among boys, and on the football field and playing basketball, you were a great athlete. We had a lot of fun.
Now, I had 34 scholarships in basketball. One was to UCLA.
So that's
and
what
I chose Ohio State. Yeah.
That's what I was going to get to. I want to hear about that. So I figured you had scholarships on both sides. You were definitely a good basketball player at Peach County. So the first thing is you grew up in Fort Valley. Did you ever get back to Fort Valley? Do you still come to see folks?
3 times a year.
Oh, do you really? Well, I got to hook up with
you. I ain't never not come to Fort Valley now. You know you got to come home.
Yeah, well, there were several. I got to thinking about it. You know, you played obviously D1 college football, went on to play the NFL. Paul Ross played for Ohio State. David Carter was a running back for Georgia Tech. We were all on that same basketball team.
Oh, yeah.
There were some athletes out there, right?
Oh, we had great athletes there.
Yeah. I graduated in 72, and I think that's the year you moved to New York. Did you have relatives in New York? Or how
my mom.
Okay.
My mom. Yeah, what happened, I was raised by my great-grandparents, and then my great-grandfather got real sick, and he didn't want me to see him die, so he said, time for you to go spend more time with your mom. So that's why I had to go to New York and stay with her. But I used to go every other summer to New York and be with her, and she'll come every other summer to Georgia.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I never knew that. But what I did remember, and I would love to hear your take on it, you were such a great football player, even in when I watched in high school, but they never let you run the ball in Fort Valley. You were playing on the offensive line, and you were a linebacker. You were all over the field on defense, but I don't remember you running the ball in Fort Valley. You didn't start that till you moved to New York, right?
Right, but remember we did those tackle eligible, and I had like 8, 9 touchdowns, but they were from tackle eligible passes.
Yeah. So, but I can't believe they wasn't giving you the ball. Just think
They wouldn't give me the ball.
So how did that happen when you got to New York? You had scholarships offers to play football and basketball, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So how did you start running the ball? What happened in New York to get you noticed by everybody?
Well, Coach Finkel, I knew since God, I was 8 years old, and he became the head coach at Long Beach High School.
Okay.
So my uncle and him have been talking, so they just arranged everything, and he saw films and stuff, and he said, "Nah, they got you a linebacker and a running back, so that's where you're playing." So I
Right.
went there, and that's where he put me. And I made all-state middle linebacker, all-state halfback, and we had a fullback that was 265, and we had another running back, Melvin Lewis, with 220, and I was 225 and 6'1".
And you are solid as a rock. I mean,
Oh yeah.
you didn't have a piece of fat on you anywhere.
Mm-mm.
You were a man. I got
Mm-mm.
pictures of you in high school. I mean, you were a solid rock. There's no question about that. Who all recruited you to play football?
I had 250 scholarship offered in football, and 38 in basketball. But now you got to remember, before we integrated, at Peach County,
Right.
well, I started playing in 7th grade.
Yeah, I've forgotten that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then we played at Fort Valley State because our football field, you couldn't play football on it.
Right.
And you had to go into the locker room where everybody else goes to piss at halftime. And I was in there, Coach Lombardi, Auburn, everybody was offering me scholarship because my cousin went to Vietnam, and his name was Willie James Johnson, and he would have been a senior. So they thought we were the same person. They offered me scholarships and everything.
As a 7th grader. Is that
At
right?
the 7th grade, so I come back I told all the guys, I don't even have to go to high school. I'm going to college next year. And Bobby Tuffley, he said, "Boy, what the hell is going on with you? What you do in that bathroom?" And I told him about who all was there, the coach from Grambling, Georgia, LSU. So then everyone had to piss along the sideline on the goalpost.
That's unreal. One of your buddies that I remember, he was a friend of mine, and I knew him well, was Paul Ross. And
Oh, I love Shot. Man, I miss him.
he played on our team with us, and
Mm-hmm.
he was at Georgia for a short time because I remember seeing him there and talking to him. Right? Isn't that correct? Didn't he go to Georgia before he came?
He went to Georgia, yeah, and he was so unhappy. And his mom called me and said he was trying to drop out of school. I said, "Hold on." So I had him to send me some film, and I looked through him first, and then I showed Coach Hayes the one film of him. He said, "Get him here. We can't afford to put him on full scholarship right now, but we'll work it out." I said, "Well, he can stay with me." Oh, that's good. So he came in, he stayed with me.
Is that right? Well, he was a
Yeah.
great guy. He was a mild-mannered, just a mild-mannered, nice
Oh,
guy.
yeah.
But he was a heck of an athlete. And just happened, I was in Columbus, Ohio. This was, 5 or 6 years ago. I was sitting at the dinner table with a bunch of Ohio State fans, and I asked them if they remembered you. And, of course, they all did. And one of them had some friend of theirs that had your number, and I called you. And
Yep, I remember talking to you.
yeah, you were leaving his funeral. I didn't even know he had died, and you were leaving his
Yeah.
funeral. Yeah. What happened to him? Did he have?
He had a heart attack.
Oh my gosh! Oh my goodness!
Yep.
Well,
Yeah. 3 kids, great wife. Oh man, he was doing so good.
he was a good one, that's for sure. I've stayed in touch with David Carter over the years. I'm sure
Dave, yeah.
he'll listen to this. He went to Georgia Tech, had a great. Has done well in life, that's for sure, which I knew he would anyway.
Yeah.
Right. You decided to go to Ohio State. How did you choose Ohio State out of all your 300 and something?
Well, I
offers?
think I was I think Woody blackmailed me. So you know how much I love basketball.
Yeah.
So West Virginia had Jerry West call me, and the Lakers were playing the Nets. So I sat on the bench between Wilt Chamberlain and Jerry West.
You
I
got to be
signed to go
kidding.
to the University of West Virginia at halftime.
Are you serious? Oh,
That's
my.
why when these guys be talking about their offers and this, I said, dude, you'll change your mind 20 times before you make it.
Yeah, really. So, I just saw where Jerry West just died.
Yes, he did. But
Like,
you talking about another great man. I got to play some golf with him. He invited me out for years. He stayed in touch with me, and it just, but the good Lord knows what he's doing, so that we just have faith in him.
yeah, that's all we can do, isn't it? And that is not only all we can do, that's all we should be doing.
That's it.
You go to Ohio State, and so you change your mind from playing basketball for West Virginia, and you go to Ohio State as a freshman, and so this is what I remember. Here I am. I went to Georgia out of high school, and I'm home January the 1st. I think it was 74. I started in 72, but
Yep.
I'm watching
the Rose Bowl.
I'm watching the Rose Bowl, and I'm seeing they keep talking about Pete Johnson. Well, I didn't even realize where you were in New York. I didn't know that. I'd graduated and left Fort Valley, and I kept hearing him. This freshman, he scored, I think, 3 touchdowns.
Three touchdowns, 99 yards, and
Yeah.
then play past halftime.
Yeah, and so I heard all that, but then they interviewed you after the game, and I said, I almost fell out of my chair. I said, that's Pete Johnson. and I got to thinking about it back then. I didn't think freshmen was allowed to play with the regular team. Where they had
That was the second year.
Oh,
that was the second year. There was like Archie and Cornelius Green, which was our quarterback.
Right.
And they at 72 were the first year freshmen could play.
Okay. Wow.
And that's why I would have said, you'll complete my backfield, son. You come here.
Yeah, well, you did.
Yeah.
I look back on it. I assume that was your coming out party.
That game, I had about 9 touchdowns before that game.
Right.
It was, that was a big, that was a huge game. The Michigan game, I scored the only touchdown that we had as a freshman. And so I had some good game, but a guy by the name of Champ Henson had led the nation in scoring the year before. So it was just hard for them to just throw him on the bench, but they got me in a lot. And, when I was in the game, Archie was able to move the ball a lot faster.
Yeah, well, you were amazing. You would run over people, but you also quick. You were fast. You were so athletic.
Oh, yeah, 4.5, 40.
And how much did you weigh then?
235.
235. Are you in the NFL? You were more in the 240 range or 250, right?
Oh, my body seemed to balance out at 250. I got down at 238 and shit. I wouldn't be able to knock a whore off a piss pot. But at 250, I could do anything I wanted to do.
You could, and you did. I want to talk about all that. So I remember another thing I did. I'm sure you never got it. And back then, there was no email. There was no way to call. I watched you, and, I wasn't but a year and a half out of us playing basketball together or whatever it was. So I remembered you well, and I sent a telegram to you to congratulate you. I have no idea if you ever got it. I don't even know how I did that. I don't even know
I don't know how you did it either.
Yeah, I don't even know how you sent a telegram, to be honest. But I think I did. But that's how much I was impressed. I wanted to congratulate. I had no idea how to get in touch with you back in those days. You can't just go find somebody online and send them a text or something. But I sure.
And I probably was in Fort Valley. I mean, I was little. I would come there. Matter of fact, Paul and I would give him a ride home.
Yeah, is that
all
right?
the time? Matt Jackson. Matt came to. I got him to Ohio State. And shoot, every time I look around, the coach would call me. He done ran home. He was in love. And I have to drive to Fort Valley and get him and bring him back to school.
So that was a question I was going to have. You used to come to Georgia with Woody Hayes, right? Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
He would bring you with him to recruit.
Oh, but I'll tell him about all these athletes and stuff there, and And then he was a great man, too. He reminded me a lot of my great-grandfather.
So that's what I want to ask you. What was it like playing for Woody Hayes and being his friend. On the TV or his persona, he was very volatile and, seemed to be off the chain sometimes.
He protected his family like you would do, like we do now. I do it all the time with my grandbabies. Woody was a protector of the team. He didn't allow us to talk to no media unless he knew who he was talking to. And, he said the media destroyed two of his best players he ever had. So he did not like the press, and good reason why, because they'll take a nothing and turn it into something.
Isn't that the truth?
You talking about one of the greatest men. So my great-grandfather died my senior year.
Right.
And I was missing him so bad. When he first taught me how to say the Lord's Prayer, I used to pray I died before he did. But he was teaching me to go on.
Right.
And the first time I met Woody, he just reminded the thing he did and his outlook on life and people, just like my great-grandfather. You got to always pay forward, and it was just so awesome. So I bring all my classes where I'm out 2 hours before practice, and I go over there just to talk to him. Because, I read about my great-grandparents. So I'm around older people all the time. Took him about 3 weeks to realize I was missing my great-grandfather. He had a little El Camino. He would get me in that El Camino, and him and I just go around and visit school, visit hospital. So I learned my way around Columbus from Woody.
Is that right?
Yep.
Wow. Folks, I'm talking to Pete Johnson, former NFL great, Pro Bowler, Ohio State icon. He's talking about one of the most famous football coaches ever lived, who was not only his coach and his mentor, but his very good friend, Woody Hayes. You just don't talk to people like that very often. So crazy that you're even talking about him. But his impact on you was great, right?
Oh, man, yes, it was. And I tell you what, it probably wasn't for him, I probably would have dropped out of school.
That has to be difficult. I don't care what kind of athlete you are, getting that much attention, coming from high school and going into big college. And for any kid, that's got to be a major adjustment. If you don't have somebody in your life like that, you got problems, right?
Because, in Fort Valley, even though when we integrated and stuff, everyone looked after you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't care, you're white, black, and you doing something wrong, they're going to say, hey, you need to get your butt home.
Yeah.
They call my great-grandfather Money. Named Charlie Warren. They will tell Charlie, you got to go home. Right. But that many times downtown at the pool hall, I'm hanging around the wrong people, and the mayor see me, he come get me in the car and take me home.
Yeah. Yeah.
That just, people used to ask me, especially, when we went to the Super Bowl, and they always ask, what you like better, New York or Georgia? I said, I like Georgia better. Why? I said, because there's someone there that didn't like you, you knew right away. And we all looked after each other. New York, you never would know.
You and I both lived through the integration, and sports did a lot for that.
Sport, the reason that we was able to go through that.
Isn't that the truth?
And then all the other kids jumped on board. I think we had one little incident, and that was because I think they were just a little too stupid, but we had that. Yeah. Do you remember that when they had locked everybody out?
Yep, I do.
But remember, the team was right there. We stood together, and we had everybody in order, and we had a good time.
Yeah, no question about it. And sports has a way to bring people. Even today, that hadn't changed. In a crazy world where it seems like half the world hates the other half, when you go to Ohio State football game, everybody's cheering for one team. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
So, talking about Ohio State, oh my! I started looking at some of your stats. You scored like 58 touchdowns. That was a Big Ten conference record for years. You scored 348 points, which was a Buckeye record for until 30 years later when some kicker passed it. So you had a heck of a career at Ohio State for sure.
Oh yeah. And I'm still no one in history of Ohio State that scored more touchdowns per game, per season, or career than I have.
How much was your rushing yards? Over 4, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yards per rush, yeah.
Yeah, and Archie Griffin, the only 2-time Heisman Trophy winner, his second Heisman, he had 4 touchdowns, 1,500 yards. I had 27 touchdowns, 1,284 yards. I didn't even make first team All-American.
I know. I saw some of that stats. It's unbelievable. Talk about him. Talk about Archie Griffith.
One of the greatest men ever lived.
Is that
we
right?
Still talk at least every other day.
Is that right?
Yep.
He's the only two-time Heisman Trophy winner, right? Or was he? Is that right? Am I right about that?
He's still the only two-time Heisman Trophy winner. And, you know, we both got inducted to the Rose Bowl Hall of Fame. Well, this year they putting a statue up of him.
Is that right?
Yes, I was messing with him at breakfast the other day. Man, they used to have a picture of me in front of the Rose Bowl that you walk through the main entrance, and then you probably talk to them and making me a Rose Bowl Hall of Famer. They take my picture down. Now they putting a statue of you. What is this about? And he just laughed.
I remember, listen, I became an Ohio State fan. I'm a Georgia Bulldog through and through. But I became a Ohio State fan when you were playing. That is for sure. When I realized you were on that team, and a Bengals fan later.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. You just said getting in the Rose Bowl Hall of Fame. You were selected to the Ohio State All-Century team, and then you were also into the Athletic Hall of Fame. Just talk about what those honors mean to you, Pete.
Oh, it's a great honor. You know, I mean, to be amongst our teammate, and we just had Jeff Logan replaced Archie. He was a running back with me my senior year, and he just got inducted. So we got a big ceremony for him this year. And then last year, Cornelius Green, our quarterback, got inducted to the Rose Bowl Hall of Fame.
Wow.
So the only thing we need now is Brian Batchnagel, which was a wing back, but just another awesome player. So we get him in, we'll be complete.
So are you still active with Ohio State football? Are you right in the middle of it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I do the biggest tailgate parties there. I do the tailgate party. I have 200-300 people.
Is that right?
I don't charge them a dime. We've got a lot of the former players come back because we have to keep that camaraderie and tradition,
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to keep that together. So I do my best.
Talk about some of your highlights with Ohio State. I know you had some big games. When you think about your career there, before we get into NFL, give me a few highlights of your big games that you remember with Ohio State.
All of them.
I'm sure, but you had some that jump out at you, right?
No, because I'm from Georgia. I'm a country boy. I just enjoy life, enjoy my teammate, and Bruce, Archie and I, we never played past halftime.
I know, because y'all were beating the crap out of people, right?
Oh, yeah, and then Matt Jackson and Ray Griffin and Rick Voller, they the one ran the scores up on all these teams, 56-7, all that stuff. They were the one did all that. Woody played everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, but one thing is, I was raised by my great-grandparents. You always do your best, no matter what you're doing. Whether it's picking peaches, cotton, pecan, you do your best. And that's the way I was brought up, and I'm still teaching my great-grandkids that.
Well, my memories of you when we played basketball together, and obviously during those years playing basketball and practices, we spent a lot of time together.
Yes, we did.
You were as I've said, so strong, a man among a bunch of boys, but you were very meek, and I never saw you get mad. I never saw you get angry. I mean, you could have tore somebody in half if you wanted to, but you just took everything in stride. You have this mental capacity that had to be part of your success in life. And the rest of your career to be able to handle stuff in a low-key way and not get so excited about whatever's going on.
Yep, and I'll still pray to the Lord to just keep me grounded and guide me the way He wants me to be, not the way I want to be, and He's been doing a good job.
Well, I'm proud for you, I'm proud of you, and I'm proud to know you. So you were drafted like in the second round after you left Ohio State by the Bengals. Is that right? And
yep,
I think I read like the 48th in the draft, and you went on to have a heck of a career with them. You were their leading rusher for the whole 6 full years you were with them every year.
7 years I was there. I led them in rushing, scoring, and came in third in pass receiving.
I saw you had 76 touchdowns with the Bengals, or maybe in your career. I don't know if you scored a few.
No, I went to Bengals. I had 80-something kind of with the Dolphin and stuff.
Yeah. So you had 76 with the Bengals, 5,700 rushing yards, 1,300 or something receiving yards. You had a heck of a career there. So talk about being in the NFL. Talk about the level moving from college to the NFL.
I think college was tougher.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Tell me why.
I can look next to me on either side and know my guys are going to be doing their best. And pros, you never knew. The one reason, because the owner messed with them so much. We had guys got the game ball on Sunday, and they cut him that Monday and bring him back that Thursday, and they still start for less pay. Yeah, I always say NFL the biggest mafia ever lived.
Is that right?
Yeah, I wasn't a big NFL fan, but I was always taught to do my best, and if I'm on that field, that's what I'm going to do.
That was a cutthroat business, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. It was terrible. And to give you a perfect example now, I played 7 years for the Bengals, led them in rushing, scoring every year I was there. And they got a big life-size picture of me hanging in the middle of the stadium, and they'll want me to do fan appreciation and want me to pay for parking.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so I call them, hey, I tell you what, you guys ever want me to do something, send me a parking pass first. So they started doing it, and then the parking pass was so far away, but I got, I used to be the first one at the stadium and the last one to leave. So I got all kind of fans. So I have people that give me box seats, for the Bengals.
Oh, I'm sure.
Now, the Dolphin is just, I was there really a year and a half because we went on strike and I retired when we was on strike. I go 3 games a year, take my wife, I can take my kids, don't cost me nothing, parking pass, a suite, food, drinks, everything. And they also arrange, if you're going to be in town for a while, we got this company who like to have you come sign autograph. They always setting up stuff for you to make money.
Yeah. That's Miami you talk about, not
Miami Dolphin, yeah.
But that's not Cincinnati where you
Cincinnati, I was the key player there every year I was there. No one ever did it. But you would think I never did anything there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You did more in Cincinnati for longer years, but they don't set you up like that. That's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Paul Brown used to, the first day of training camp, he would say, "Men, welcome to training camp. This is our only business. So we don't have other businesses like this. Now here's your coach." So in other words, don't ask for no money.
Is that right? Wow. So I also, Pete, saw where in 1981 you made the Pro Bowl, and I think that was the only year you were on the Pro Bowl. Or in the Pro Bowl? Is that right? Or
that's the only year. Yeah.
So talk about that. That had to be a big thrill. You must have had a great year that year for sure.
Well, I had a great year, but the Pro Bowl ain't what it's not. Now they got it, but you know how they got it right now with the Harlan. They don't play and practice, do nothing.
Right.
Well, it was similar. I never voted for a Pro Bowler. I always let my teammate Ross Browner and Eddie Edwards, hey man, are you gonna vote for them? No, I kill everybody. Ain't no one there all pro I want to vote for. So I let them pick who they want me to vote for.
Is that?
That was back in the Pro Bowl that I had way better yardage and touchdown than they did. So that's all fake.
Yeah. I'm sure behind the scenes of all that. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, what's your take on college football today with the NIL and the portal?
Not a big fan.
Yeah.
Not a big fan.
Talk about that a little bit.
Well, the thing is, what you run into, just like my company, Force and One Enterprises, I used to do autograph from the guy, but I do the whole team, and then I would, do to memorabilia to the memorabilia stores and all. So when they first came out where the player can go out and make their own money, so we got 140-something players on the team. They use 4 guys, and they just milked them for all the autograph, and they ain't did none since. And I still ain't seen all this $300,000 million that they talking about. And I'm the vice president of the quarterback club, and they always coming in begging my members for money. And I told them, don't do it. Don't give them nothing. Because it don't make no sense. So now they came out with a deal at Ohio State. all scholarship athletes gonna get $350,000.
Is that right?
So what about these others, players? So what they're gonna do? They're gonna be pissing a lot of people off. A lot of guys gonna be like, "Wait a minute, I can't afford no car. I can't do this."
Wow.
You know, we had guys on our team, Carl Roaches and Jeff Logan, Ray Griffin. All those guys, they waited their turn. They
Right.
couldn't go nowhere else.
Right.
And I think that made better men of you.
Right.
When you get a job, go out into the world and get a real job, because only 1% gonna make the NFL. They ain't gonna let. Hey, you can't just go anywhere.
Right.
I have people from friend of mine came out of law school. Some doctors are still trying to find a place.
Oh yeah. So
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It don't work. They're teaching everyone to be weak.
Yeah,
you
they
know what I
are.
mean?
I agree. I understand that there's the people, the schools are making money, the coaches are making money, and
hell yeah.
I understand there's money to go around, but the way this portal is, and they're teaching the wrong thing to kids, that if I don't like it here, I can go somewhere else and turn my back, and that don't work in the real world, does it?
Well, it don't work. And think about this now. Think about the guys in the last 6 years that went into the portal. I guarantee you can count them on 2 hands or maybe 7 fingers, the guy that was success.
Right.
Joe Burrows, the kid that went, right now he plays for Philadelphia, the quarterback. You got him. Well, Baker Mayfield didn't go into a portal. He just went to the school and said, "Look, I'm going to be your starting quarterback next year."
Yeah.
And that's why I love him. He's my number one
Yeah.
guy. I love Baker Mayfield. You know what I mean? But think about, name one of the other guys that did it. None of them.
Right.
They go to the portal, and that's why a lot of them, they was at this school last year, this school this year. That guy been at 3 different schools in 4 years. So coaches that about anything, they don't want them. They're quitters.
They're leaving because they're not playing, and they want to go somewhere where they can play instead of
But
earn.
don't work that way.
And you didn't do that. You had to start, and just like you said at the beginning, and as heavy as recruited you were, you couldn't hardly get into games at the beginning because they had successful people from behind you, ahead of you that deserved to play, right? And so you had to wait till your time.
You had to wait your time.
Yeah, and it worked out for you, didn't it?
Yeah, what I knew, I knew when we ran sprint, I made sure I ran next to championship. When we lift weights, I made sure I was in line. When he finished lifting, I add 100 pounds. And that's that same way I did with the Bengals.
Yeah.
Because they had Booby Clark, and they didn't want the coaches. They fall in love with players. They didn't want me to play, so they thought I was crazy. I went there, but I made more money selling cards than they were paying me, so I didn't care.
So you were having to prove yourself. So you were comparing yourself to the best on the team and whatever you were doing.
I'm gonna line up right with the best on the team, and I do them.
Well, that's a heck of a great attitude, boy. There's a lesson in that, Pete, for anybody.
Yeah.
For anybody.
Oh yeah.
Wow. So let's talk about Ohio State just in general. What has that school meant to you, Pete, over the years? I mean, you're so loved there, I know. But I'm
a big Buckeye fan.
Yeah,
Buckeye Nation, baby. My wife and I, we go to Daytona for 6 months every year. Shoot, I got about 6 Buckeye bars.
Is that right?
Yep. When I got like the first game this year, I got 56 people coming from Daytona to the first game.
Wow.
Yeah. But the tradition would kind of piss me off with Ohio State now with all this porter and money they trying to come up with. They forget tradition.
Right.
And that's the part that really bothers me a lot. Archie and a lot of other players that feel the same way.
Right.
They don't have the same tradition that we used to have.
You were playing for yourself and you were playing for the team, but you were playing for that university, right?
We're playing for that university. Oh, yeah. Everything I did. Yeah, when I go out, I'm representing that university. I try to carry myself in a way where we could. No matter, they try to put a whole bunch of stuff on me, but they couldn't because I'm always out there with the people.
Well, that's changed too, because kids now, they're not playing for the university; they playing for themselves. Most, not
oh my God!
not everybody, but most of them, right?
Facebook and Instagram, TikTok. Oh, it's destroying it.
Yeah. Wow. So, let me ask you another question. I think people would find interesting. Who are the greatest players that you played against or with in your career? When you think of the greatest players, what jumps in your mind, and tell me why?
You ain't gonna like that. What I'm gonna tell you.
It's all right.
All of them.
Is that right?
Buddy, when you make it to that point, I'm not. It's a different level.
For
Think
sure.
about 1% makes it.
Oh yeah.
So how can you justify any of them? And then I own all of them.
Yeah.
I guarantee you can watch all the Hall of Fame inductees and ever. And you know what they do with Hall of Famers? They show how great they are.
Right.
You'll never see Pete Johnson in the same clip of a Hall of Famer.
Because they see what you're doing there, right?
Well, they can't look good going against me.
You were confident, and you were backing it up. You got the receipts to go with it, my friend. That's for sure.
Oh, shoot. I got the Steel Curtain, Mean Joe, all of Elsie Greenwood. The only thing they got on me, they converted my wife to a Steelers fan. So she said she gave the Bengals the best part of her life, and they weren't committed to winning, so they became a Steelers. So my company, we do celebrity golf tournament. I take all the guys all over the country, doing golf outings. And Mean Joe and Elsie Greenwood, Mel Blunt, all of them. They say, hey, how's Mrs. Johnson doing? She's so a lot better because she's a Buckeye now. Man, they'll give me signed helmet. They'll send her terrible towels, everything.
That's crazy. Wow. So you don't have any special players that were great. You just, and you say 1%. God, that's 1% of the people that even played football. There's a whole lot of people that ain't never touched a football. So it's really,
there you go.
It's a lot less than 1% of all the population. It's 1% that really played football that make it to that level.
Yeah, but that's a great player. I'm talking about. I told you L.C. Greenwood, and we had some great players on the Bengals.
Yeah.
The Dolphin, Marino. Think about it. Dan Fouts. Oh shoot. Yeah. Franco Harris, Walter Payton, Jack Lambert. Shoot, you can go on, Marilyn Olsen. You can go on and on and on and on. There's so many great players.
Yeah, there's no question. It's hard to even separate them, isn't it?
You can't. Now these guys try to. I'm not a guy. You don't even play football anymore. You get a hangnail and take 3 months off. I can show you a picture with a cast on my arm, and I ain't missed a game. And they throwing me the ball. So don't tell me about the great players y'all are, because you're not. You run off the field, you got to go get oxygen. You never thought none of us get no oxygen.
You didn't have an oxygen tank over there, did you?
Oh, shoot. We didn't even have heaters on the bench.
So, Pete, what are you doing business-wise now?
I'm retired now. I still do 4 golf outings a year. We raise money for different charities, Fourth and One Enterprises. I sold my dealership back in 2008.
Okay.
And now I just enjoy trying to teach my grandkids to do the right thing. And, my kids all doing good right now. Valerie is teaching.
That's awesome.
LaToya, she's teaching. My baby, he's the head of clerk of court in Worthington. Ivan, my oldest son, works for a pharmaceutical company.
Wow.
And the grandkids are doing awesome.
I was talking to Skip Duncan. He told me you had an RV or something you travel in. Did I hear that right?
I got a 40-foot Holiday Rambler Endeavor. And we take it down to International RV Park every year. And we got 350 people there. And wow. I know all of them. And we all, matter of fact, tomorrow I'm having breakfast with some of them from Tennessee. They on their way up to Michigan, and we meet them in Dayton for lunch.
That's unbelievable.
We all stay in touch, yeah.
Man, you have done well. I am proud of you. I'm proud for you. Like I said, I'm glad I know you. I think about it. You and I both are the same age, And that means
that
means we're old men.
Tell me about it.
When you look back at your life, what are the greatest lessons you've learned?
Always do your best. Always don't judge anyone. Let the Lord handle that. And you just, do the best you can. Treat people the way you want to be treated. And it might not always happen all the time, but you don't worry about them. You just keep being you.
When it's all said and done, what do you want people to remember about Pete Johnson? What do you want those grandkids you talked about? I've got 9 grandkids myself. What do you want them to remember about you?
They always gonna remember their granddad and their papa. They buy me shirts all the time that say the world's greatest grandpa or the world's greatest granddad.
Yeah.
I got my little Vivi. She just turned 3, and she's so respectful. And she say, "Yes, man." She say hi to everyone, talk to everybody, and she talk like she's 50 years old. So my daughter, Dad, you tell her too much stuff about your life growing up. They know who I am. They remember because of the way I treat other people,
right,
and what people tell them. But I spent a lot of time with all 15 of them, so they know who I am.
Well, when it's all said and done, that's your greatest legacy. It's not all the football, not all that, but
that don't even count. It's my grandbabies.
It's your family you leave behind. Isn't that true?
Yep. It's all about family and friends. At the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters in the Lord.
Yep, no question about it. Pete, I'm glad I'm your friend, and I'm glad I knew you. I'm glad I crossed all those years ago. I've kept up with you. I followed you. It is
man, I'm so appreciative of that. When I'm on the way to Fort Valley, we're going to stay in touch now. And I was telling Steve the other day, I said, now when I'm there 3 times a year.
Yep.
We need to get together. And you'll hang out with Skip.
Yeah. I'll come find you. You just let me know when you're in town.
I'll stay in touch with you.
All right, Pete. You're a blessing, man. Keep on making a difference in people's lives.
And hey, that's all I ever want to do is make a difference in this world. I don't want to change nobody. I just want to make a difference.
You're doing it, my friend. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Bruce, and God bless you and your family.
Thank you, Pete. God bless you. Bye-bye.
All right, brother.
Bye-bye.
Viewing life from a hearse, it could be worse. Laugh, think, and cry with the country undertaker.